I have the pleasure of being joined today by Peter Kasprzak. Peter is the chairman of Innovate Australia. Peter, so great to see you. Thanks for making time to catch up with me.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to compliment you for being a linguistic talent to pronounce
Well,
my name properly.
full disclosure for our audience, we practiced quite a few times off camera, but I'm a big proponent of getting names pronounced correctly because my name Blanchfield often gets mispronounced as well. Peter, so great to see you. I'm very, very keen to talk about a number of key things with you as we talked about off camera, but just for our audience, just to set the scene here, we're going to talk about you and your role as chairman of Innovate Australia. We're going to talk about what Innovate Australia is, its history, how it came to be formed, what it is at its core and what it does and why it matters. We're then going to be talking about your involvement in the upcoming BeerOps events, Australia's largest tech networking events. There's an event coming up in June, this 19th, that is, in Brisbane. And then I think it's July the 1st in Western Australia, there in Perth, where you are. And then there is a couple of months break, and then there are events in Melbourne and Sydney. I wonder, Peter, if you could maybe just kick us off. I want to sort of learn a little bit about your organization, Innovate Australia, then a bit of background on yourself and your history and sort of, what a day in the life of Peter is like. And then we'll sort of talk about some of the things with BeerOps and some of the exciting things you're doing with the United Nations and AI for Good. But maybe just kick us off with what is Innovate Australia and tell us a little bit of its history and how it came to be formed and what it is at its core, what it does, and maybe why it matters.
Yes, thank you. Innovate Australia, basically, as the name indicates, we promote innovation. And we used to, I used to be involved in Inventors Association of Australia, and my colleague, Dr. Adam Asarian, was the vice president at that time. And so we brought a lady named Lynn Bisley, who was then chief scientist, to be our patron of the organization. And Lynn was instrumental to pushing us to spreading the wings from inventing to the wider area of innovation. And then at the same time, Lynn was stepping down as the chief scientist. He introduced us to new chief scientist, Peter Klinken. And Professor Peter Klinken, actually, we went to see Peter and we talked to him about ideas of establish Western Australia as a mining innovation hub, because we might at one time we might stop digging things, but however, innovation is always relevant in every area. And Peter, being very funny guy, the chief scientist, he was listening intensely and eventually said, "You bastards, you stole all my ideas." No, he's a really cool guy. And actually, a few days ago, a week ago, he stepped down eventually, after almost 10 years as a chief scientist. So, so this is, we actually put the proposal to government. Originally was very warmly welcome. However, later on, nothing happened. So we pursued through some friendly member of parliament to find out what's happening. Nothing was happening. So we decided, forget it, we're going to do it ourselves. And we started organizing events. And actually, Peter Klinken was the very first speaker at our very first event, which was Mining Innovation Network. And out of that, then Innovate Australia officially got registered. We started organizing events. Then in October 2015, we organized a really large event called AI Innovation Summit. Oh, sorry, it was the WA Summit 2030. So it was a perspective to the future. And we had very prominent people. We had Nobel laureate, we had Lord Mayor of Perth, we had a couple of senators, and it was really fantastic. And from that sort of lifted out and we started organizing events, and people sort of trying to figure out how is this operating. It's a basically work of love. We really, Adam, fortunately, my colleague, Dr. Adam Asarian, Adam used to be a professor at university. We very different characters. Adam is sort of precise and very calm. As you can tell, I'm talking with my hands, and I'm more from my background is in marketing and sales and business development and ideas basically. So this is a good collaboration. And look, we actually organized about last Melbourne Cup. Actually was our 10th anniversary of Innovate Australia. We had celebration then, and we organized over 100, I think 111 events by now, so
Wow.
been quite active actually.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was reading a bit of background and saw that you established I think circa 2014, so you've sort of been there for over a decade now, which is rather fortuitous because that's the same time frame that BeerOps has been about. In fact, the exact
Yes,
same
yes,
year,
I saw that.
uh,
Yes.
which is an uncanny thing. But I really do like your overall remit of sort of proactively promoting Australian innovation. I think that's an astounding focus. And if anything, Australia is often referred to as a smart country, but we've been through periods in time where we may not have been able to live up to that claim. Um, I wonder if we can sort of take a moment now just to do a little 30,000 foot overview of, what a day in the life of Peter is as your chairman role and also sort of the day-to-day activities of what Innovate Australia requires from you. What is a day in your life like currently, and what are some of the things that you're sort of doing from day to day that just keep this project moving forward?
Yeah, look, although I have a really good board, we have there is six of us on the board altogether, and some very prominent people, like we have ex-Attorney General of Western Australia, etc. And but mainly hands-on. It sounds nice, executive chairman, because my role is the chairman, and the roles change, but they're self-imposed roles basically. So I'm the hands-on guy basically. So organizing event I do from very beginning, which I'm sure the pain, from the very beginning to doing chairs to actually staying 2 hours later and just making sure everything is done properly. So, but look, I really enjoy it. So for me, and the reward is like I might come up with the idea for the event, and then 2 months later, there's a bunch of people talking to each other, and for me, that hum, when people are networking, you cannot distinguish words, but you can hear this in the room. That's a music to my ears. Seriously, I really, I really enjoyed that part because I know things are happening. People talking to each other, going, "Hey, do you know Julie? Oh, you should call. Just yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
oh, what you do? Oh, you doing this? No kidding. Wow. I just come back from Denver or whatever, and there's the guy doing. Yeah, you should give him a call. I love it. This is how things happen. I work long hours. The office where I work, actually, they're closing at 10, so they're usually kicking me out at 10. So I have no choice. I have to leave. But my wife is very happy with that. After 36 years of marriage, she's very happy that actually, yeah, we can, she's got some peace and quiet, and so yeah, I look, but it's not work. I really enjoy it. I work on the project. A couple of nights ago, I put a whole night there because had to finish on deadline, submit the project, and yeah, so it doesn't matter me. Hopefully, fortunately, I'm in a situation I can do it. Okay, so I'm lucky that way. But yeah, so look, I have very supportive, like I said, just talk to Adam about 3 times a week, although he's right now in Switzerland. And which I'm gonna be soon. I'm just moving my head because I want to show you that this is where I'm gonna be. So, although I will miss the BeerOps this year, but however, number of our directors gonna be participating in it.
Fantastic. Well, for our audience, as we mentioned, BeerOps is coming up. It's Australia's largest tech networking event. It actually sort of seems to dovetail very naturally with what you're doing there in Innovate Australia, running events of similar nature, but for your own focus on innovation around Australia and so forth. And you're right, there's nothing quite so wonderful as sitting at an event, despite all the sweat and tears and dirt and dust and blood afterwards, having that room full of humans and that little hum of hub, 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 hearing that energy and that focus and that passion is quite a tonic. I wonder, you mentioned you personally won't be there, but I know you mentioned off camera that a number of your team and your general ecosystem will be there from Innovate Australia. When you think about an event like BeerOps, and particularly the one that'll be in your backyard there in WA, What are the sorts of things that you look forward to when you're there? I know you've sort of spoken about the general networking of people and those conversations that you don't hear the details of voice, but you can hear in the background. But what are some of the key things that these events sort of bring about when you either run them yourselves or in the case of BeerOps, participating and being part of them? What do you look forward to when you go to an event like BeerOps, as far as kind of the lead up to? What excites you? Why are you going to be part of this? What value does it bring for you?
Look, networking and making connection, business connection. I love doing it. I'm very heavily involved in LinkedIn as well, and
Hmm.
it was absolute blessing. Just such a useful thing. But BeerOps, huge. So you have usually about 1,000 people participate in the event, which is gigantic, and opportunity for people to get together and look, I've been in it for quite some time, and there's many people I go to event I don't know, and I really enjoy talking to people, and event like BeerOps, it's absolutely fantastic from that point of view. There's no innovation in Sahara Desert because there's no people there. But then there's a lot of innovation in London, for example, or Silicon Valley, or just larger areas when people are bumping into each other. And it's fascinating how many organizations started. Biotechnology started. Two guys went to a conference and basically sharing a sandwich, just sit down at lunchtime and say, "Oh, you're doing this. Oh, you're doing this." So this is a cell theory was created, over 100 years ago because two guys were having lunch, and one was looking at plants, one was animals, and although the cells look totally different, but they go like, yeah, it's the same cell, and boom, and
Yeah,
then, so it's amazing how human contact actually, how important that is to actually to building economy, because from that connections happened, and from this connection business happened, and at the long run people do business with people. So this is all the just I do believe in this face-to-face contact, because although right now we're on Zoom, it's nice, but it's the chemistry is always better if we could have a coffee and chat, and yeah.
indeed. No, there is no substitute for it. And it's certainly over the last sort of, let's say 5 years from 2020 onwards, for the obvious reasons, through the COVID-19 era, which we're still in many ways coming out of for various parts of the world, that in-person contact, those in-person events, they're coming back slowly. They're working nicely. BeerOps and certainly your own events there at Innovate Australia are a huge bonus to get together, rub elbows with, or bump elbows with birds of a feather, with peers, meet new people. I imagine, when we think about what you're looking forward to there, which you've outlined, and I wonder if we could sort of, when you look at events, not just yours, but certainly events like BeerOps, you've talked about a number of key things with regard to what events can bring about. But I know you're doing a lot of work around using artificial intelligence or AI for good. And I think the quote was accelerating progress towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, as it were, which I think, from memory, there are about 17, from, no
Right.
poverty, no hunger, through to partnerships and goals. And I think number 9 in particular was industrial innovation and infrastructure, which probably sits in the heart of what you're up to. You mentioned you won't physically be at the event in Perth, which is unfortunate, but that's life. You mentioned you're heading to Europe. You're going there for the AI for Good thing. Maybe just quickly tell us about AI for Good and what you're doing there at Innovation Australia, with particular the UN and with this particular AI for Good project. Be very keen to share some of the insight into that with our audience.
Sure. The AI for Good, actually, United Nations initiative, International Telecommunication Union, which is one of the agencies, actually is running it. And yeah, it started 2017, then 2019, they actually created the competition, which is called AI for Good Innovation Factory for AI startups. And fantastic thing. So we're delighted to actually were able to actually bring it to Australia. So we had on 27th of March this year, we had Australian finals here in Perth. And yeah, we had so there was 5 finalists. They all had 5 minutes to pitch, and we had distinguished judges, and then company called Project Om, which Martin Mazaris is a founder. He actually won. So We're taking Matthew to Geneva to participate in the grand finale, and on the 9th of July, he's going to be pitching against other countries. And it's fantastic because for the first time, Australia or Australian will be representing our country, because we haven't been from this continent and from this country yet. So we're really delighted that actually going to happen for the first time. And they delighted as well. And it was really good because I'm used to doing events in person. Yeah, I found out that our event in Perth actually was for the year for a year and a half. They didn't have mixed events, so they usually were doing competitions by Zoom or online, not necessarily Zoom. But then so they were delighted that we were doing actually. So and I liked it because we give everybody awards and just so everybody was really happy with that. And so yeah, so I'm
That's
looking
great.
forward next year doing bigger and better actually. So
Yeah, I was reading again on your website, doing my homework. I was reading just the pace at which this came about, and I think it was sort of in February, mid-February roughly, that the original program launch of submissions sort of opened up in Perth there, and then you ended up, I think, around about the sort of middle of March, you had 5 finalists announced, and then you had a winner announced, which was very, very quickly run. And then when we look at the upcoming Innovation Summit, as you said, which is in Geneva in the wonderful nation of Switzerland, and I think it closes the end of, is it September, from memory? And then there's good old Australia and Perth playing a key role, which is very exciting that you've been able to make that happen. You've got some amazing business partners as well, or partners in general as part of it. I was looking at Regional Development Australia in Perth. You've got the Parliamentary Friends of Technology Innovation. You've got the City of Perth right behind you. You've got Euro Industry,
Mesh Points,
Mesh Points,
Mesh Point Lottery Commission, which is
some
yes,
really big
be
names and
grateful,
brands supporting this. And I imagine, and we could probably do a whole show on this, so we won't delve into too much detail, but each of these are not only supporting you because of what you're doing for society and innovation in general, driving AI into new opportunities, new business development and so forth, and the economy as a whole, but also they probably are having to face a lot of the types of challenges you're solving with some of those AI competitions, which is a very wise and smart investment on their part. When we think about BeerOps and your involvement in that, one of the things that I like to ask people when I talk about it is, what are some of the best ways that you think attendees should be planning to not only engage with Innovate Australia, but also in the lead up to the event? What sort of homework should people be doing to prepare for the event, get across who's speaking, who the sponsors are, who's attending, who on your team might be coming along that they can meet? What sort of things do you advise people that are looking to attend a BeerOps event in general, and particularly the one in your neighborhood there in Perth, so they can get the most out of those couple of hours on the night for the event itself? What sort of homework should they do? How should they best prepare so when they turn up in person at the event for that networking opportunity, to get the maximum value out of those couple of hours on that night of the event?
Yeah, look, first of all, Perth, it's fairly small ecosystem. So even participating in all the events, people are talking about BeerOps as well. So this is good because you can find out actually at all the events who's coming and who's doing what. So that's I also would encourage, and also I was talking to David Rees as well. It'd be good actually, organization like ours, we welcome actually putting banners on about BeerOps. What I like about it, that actually your organization, same like us, it's free. People might not understand it, that actually you get drinks and you get food, and it's all free couple hours. So which is fantastic. We've been doing the same for 10 years. We did change. I mean, you're doing one, in a while, but we're doing like every month. So we change ours to donation, and the reason why for that, because more people show up. If people make a commitment of $1 or $5, they still show up. So anyway, but yeah, I like that it's still donation. I mean, you can donate $1 and just yeah. So the idea is that actually give a free access for people, so there's no barriers for anybody. But yeah, I definitely would encourage you, go to the website or BeerOps website, see what's happening, and who is coming, etc.
You mentioned David Rees. We recently had David Rees on the show. For our audience who may or may not have seen the interview yet, David Rees is the Vice President of Growth for Asia Pacific at Copernicus AI. I know you guys work very, very closely together and you're close friends. It'll be a great collaboration to have your team and your ecosystem there, as well as David Rees and his team from Copernicus AI, a couple of big groups of big brains of AI in the same room. But yes, some great tips there. What we've generally been advising people to do is make sure that they, for whatever event they're looking to attend, uh, you know, get across who's going to be there, what speakers, what sponsors, who else might be there. Look for social media conversations around the BeerOps hashtags. Look at the beerops.io website and get across the events. And make sure that when they turn up on the night, they're not just turning up cold with no idea who's there, no idea what to do. And even potentially for some of your team who'll be there, be aware of who from yourselves at Innovate Australia and maybe Copernicus AI who are going to be there, and even reach out prior and saying, hey, Peter, or whoever's going to be there from your team, I'm looking to attend, I'm registering. I wonder if there's any chance I can maybe just get 15 minutes with you on the night so that they're coming there, you've got a commitment. I often do that with events. I reach out early and saying, hey, Peter, I'm going to be there. I wonder if I can get you at, 8 o'clock and just have a 10-minute coffee with you or whatever. And we're coming, I know you're coming, and then we get that lot. So be aware of the event itself, know who's speaking, what topics are there. Also for our audience, just to something you touched on is the BeerOps event is 2 hours, but there's actually a whole hour event prior, which you can register for, which is called ExecOps, which is more of a panel presentation conversation with a very big focus on AI and other things as well. So there's an ExecOps hour event prior to BeerOps, and there's a 2-hour event for BeerOps, which is the open sort of floor for networking, conversation, and discussion. And just to remind our audience, registrations are already open for both Brisbane and Perth. So have a look at beerops.io and under events or beerops.io/events, wherever you see this interview, you will have links to go to. And whether you've got the upcoming event in Brisbane or in Peter's backyard, excuse me, in Perth, make sure you register early. Brisbane is June the 19th. And Perth coming up, I believe is, and I'll double check that, I think it's the 1st of July, but make sure you check the website. Yes, it's the 1st of July. Check the website, get across the times, the locations, the dates. As you said, Peter, it's free, so 100% discount, no cost. And there is beer and drink, as BeerOps says, there is drinks and food offered. That was a slip of the tongue. I unfortunately won't be at either the Brisbane or the Perth one myself, but I'm definitely going to be at the Melbourne and Sydney ones. I look forward to seeing people there. Peter, to wrap us up, what's the best way for people to learn more about you and your role there at Innovate Australia, and particularly about Innovate Australia? How do they make contact? How do they follow you? How do they learn more about what you're up to, and how do they learn how to participate in the overall program work you're doing and maybe some of the events?
Yeah, look, I always open talk to people in innovation. So if you go to my LinkedIn, just send me invitation. I actually have my phone number is listed there, so my email is listed there. So I always enjoy meeting interesting people. So welcome anybody who's got ideas. Especially in AI. If I can mention quickly, the project I just finished actually is for using AI to actually help people get involved in trades. And this is a crucial and very, very timely right now because what is happening, and even this morning I was watching a very interesting video about how quickly the university degrees very often becoming useless in the era of AI. But trades and what we're trying to do actually also change the perception of trades for people. So it's actually not just a job, but actually literally can be a career. So and right now those two words don't go together really. So people always looking at so trades look down upon because people work with their hands and they so it's sort of like people perception of intelligence is like people who couldn't make in life they do trades, which is absolutely not true. But then idea is actually to change this mindset that even young people going to start looking. It's like, look, this is very attractive. I can make a really good living, and it doesn't mean yeah, that you have to actually, yeah, be sort of
Mm.
what I'm trying to say. We even try to, even part of the project is actually image consultant. Okay, so
Yeah.
website that actually image consultant that actually helps you to understand where you are, where you fit, and you know how you can still being in trade, but you can actually look after yourself and you know look good and develop intellectually as well, etc. So I think we're gonna try to change that sort of view of yeah in that area. Sorry, I hate to say it,
No,
but I
not
yeah
at
so
all.
that yeah.
It's always interesting when people sort of say to me they're in a trade of some form, whether they're an electrician or a plumber or a builder, or maybe they're working on construction, whatnot. And, they're saying, oh, I wish I'd gone into technology, whatever. And saying, well, you got a smartphone in your hand, you use it all the time. And you use machine intelligence every time you do a web search because it's powered by AI. And when you go through social media, every single part of that social media feed is tailored to you with machine learning and artificial intelligence. And if you need to get some homework done on something, you'll probably now use a generative AI tool to ask it questions and have a conversation. And eventually on your phone, when it's fully integrated, you may have some proposals or a quote or a bill of materials. You can have a conversation with that bill of materials and ask questions like, how long will it take to get some more, 4x8 plywood or whatnot delivered in Australia on January with a wet day, and it will be able to tell you. So often there's this, as you said, a misconception that if you're in a trade in some form, you may or may not necessarily be in technology, but we are absolutely in an era now where everything is touched by technology, everything is impacted by
Hmm.
it, and everything is enhanced by it. So I'm very excited with what you're doing there in your role as chairman of Innovate Australia. I invite everyone to go to innovateaustralia.org. Have a look at the website. Certainly have a look at the team page and under /our-team. You'll learn more about Peter himself and the rest of the organization there. Hit bookmark when you see the website, follow them on LinkedIn. Certainly reach out and send them a connection invite on LinkedIn if you've got an opportunity to have a conversation, attend some of the meetings. But more importantly, in the context of today's conversation, have a look at beerops.io, learn about the upcoming events in your local area. If you cannot physically make one, there's a digital conversation to be had on their website, through the forums, through LinkedIn and other places on social media. Join the mailing list. There's so many ways to be part of BeerOps without having to physically go to the event if there's not one in your neighborhood or you just cannot make it because you're time poor. But ideally, if you can make it, register now for Brisbane and Perth. Come along on the nights. The team will be looking forward to meeting you. Peter, even though you'll be off representing Australia for AI for Good, and good luck with that, we certainly look forward to hearing good news when you come back. But even participating as a podium finish as far as I'm concerned. And we look forward to having you back on the show again soon. But in the meantime, thank you so much for introducing yourself with regard to your role there as chairman of Innovate Australia and telling us a bit more about what Innovate Australia does. And we'll look forward to your participation in BeerOps for many years to come, I'm sure. But in the meantime, safe travels to Europe and back. We look forward to all the latest updates in your social feed. And folks, we'll look forward to seeing you at the relevant local BeerOps for you. But in the meantime, safe travels, and we'll look forward to having you again, Peter, back on the show.
Thank you, Des, for having me. Really appreciate it. If I can make a quick plug, visit tradekorea.ai. And that's my accent. It's a Korea, don't we? It's tradekorea.ai. My friend says you say Korea like a country. So anyway, so please, yeah, and send me your thoughts. Anyway, so but look, thank you
Absolutely.
very much, and visit innovateaustralia.org as well. So yes, thanks, Des, once again. Yeah, looking forward to catching up in person.
Sounds great. Well, thanks, Peter. And folks, just to wrap up, wherever you see this interview, either in full or in part, you will have the associated links for BeerOps, for Innovate Australia. Make sure you click on those, hit follow, bookmark them, keep on top of the conversation and join it. Give them some likes, some comments, some shares. Get into that digital and social conversation. And as I said, if you can come along in person to any of the events yourselves, it is a once in a lifetime opportunity to meet some of your peers, your birds of a feather, and meet people just like Peter, even though he won't be at this particular one. He'll be at, I'm sure, ensuring years. Peter, great to see you. We'll have you back again soon. But in the meantime, safe travels and thanks for your time.
Thanks, Des.